wabarakatuh. Good afternoon everyone. The first of all, let's say thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has given us the mercy and blessing until we can meet together in a happy meeting today. Secondly, salawat and salam to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who has brought us from the darkness to the lightness, from the fullness to the smartness, and from the bad to the good. So let's say Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Thirdly, I would like to say thank you to our lecturer who have given me the time and opportunity to explain my material in this meeting. So before we get the presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Ina Safitri Siregar. I'm from Group 5 and I will continue my discussion about center on events, developing narrative paragraph, and selecting an appropriate experience. So, as said by the first speaker, that narrative is telling a story. It can be in the form of original or fictional story. So, center on events, developing narrative paragraph, and selecting an appropriate experience are among the elements of the narrative paragraph. Then, if you want to know more about how and what kind of discussion I have present, please stay in front of your phone and watch this video until finished. And I hope you can understand about my explanation in my presentation. Well, we go to the initial discussion. Center on events. As we have said, a narrative tells a story, but more precisely, it is a story that recounts events as they happened in order to make a point. You aren't just reporting the details of what happened. You want to apply about a meaning to the event. In order to do this effectively, you must focus on events more than ideas. Whether you start in the middle of story or at the beginning doesn't matter. You want to focus on the events that will be meaningful to you. The shorter the time spent you worry about, the narrower your focus will be. Don't take the concept of an event too literally. Yes, most often narratives focus on a specific episode in time, but it can also be a feeling you experience in time. Just remember the events that prompts you to feel that way. So it is important that you describe your story as it happened. The reader should understand clearly how and when things happened. On the other hand, do not just recite the events in sequential order as if you're reading a list. Pick and choose your details while you want to convey the full imagery of the story. Too many details will be distracting. As you describe your story in the manner it happened, make sure you keep your verb tense consistent and clear. Reread your work several times to make sure that there is no confusion about when things happened and what you might be feeling now. Then we go to the next discussion. Developing your narrative paragraph. Consider the following questions when you think about a topic. 1. What happened? In what order did it happen? 2. Who was involved? 3. Where were you? 4. How did you feel? Was there something to be learned from the experience? Maybe there was a time that things didn't turn out as expected. Maybe you recently had a great accomplishment. And maybe you witnessed something troublesome. Now, clarify the two things about this event. The sequence of what happened and the way you felt. Write a list of words that create a picture in your head. Words bring colorful details to mind. Then draw on your word bank to start writing your essay. According to Hambre, narrative means story or orderly account of events. So in narration, the essay usually tries to write a composition based on his or her personal experience. Narrative paragraph can be really enjoyable to write and to read. Dunbar has pointed out the narration, like description, particularizes rather than generalizes. It deals with the concrete rather than abstract. An appropriate narrative can strengthen and enliven almost anything you write. With it, you not only inform your readers, but also stimulate their imagination so that they feel as if they themselves are experiencing the events you present, not merely hearing about them. The advantage of writing a narration is that you don't have to spend hours doing research or gathering information since you already know the material and can concentrate on shaping it into paragraph. Writing about your own experience can help you to examine this experience more closely. So you may derive some unexpected insights into them, unless a narration is written carefully and thoughtfully. However, it can strike the readers as dull and pointless. In order to write a good narrative paragraph, you will have to consider some important points, such as selecting an appropriate experience about which to write. So deciding what sort of details to include, organizing your paragraph, and guiding your reader's interpretation of the experience. Well, we go to the last discussion about selecting an appropriate experience. Dunbar has stated personal experience always gives the best source of narrative material. When you are asked to write a narration about your personal experience, the experience that come to mind most tightly are likely to be ones that you remember well because you feel a certain emotions strongly, such as high school graduation trip to Bali. Such experience, however, may not make the best topics for narrative paragraph. Your high school graduation, unless it was really unusual, was probably similar to graduation of most of your readers. The emotions you felt, no matter how deep or sincere, will probably very much the same as those of millions of other high school graduates. A paragraph about trip to Bali is too likely it become a catalogue of exotic place worth saying. So in selecting an appropriate experience for the topic of your paragraph, you must be sure that it has a more profound significance that you can identify and communicate to your readers. A paragraph about trip to Bali may turn out to be clear description of the usual tourist attraction. On the other hand, a paragraph about a trip to the local zoo may be more unforgettable if it includes or of the family and the downpour that kept you all afternoon under shelter. Well, the conclusion about my material is a narrative tells a story. The advantage of writing a narration is that you don't have to spend hours doing research or gathering information since you already know the material and can concentrate on shaping it into paragraph. Writing about your own experience can help you to examine this experience more closely. In order to write a good narrative paragraph, you will have to consider some important points such as selecting an appropriate experience about which to write, deciding what sorts of details to include, organizing your paragraph, and guiding your reader's interpretation of the experience. I think enough here my speak about this discussion I have to present. I'm sorry for the mistakes. And the last, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Astro, no.